Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Archant Towers here. Myself and Paddy back with you following the pre-match press conference at Colney, ahead of Bristol City's visit to Carrow Road. Pad, you well?
Good, mate,
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much. We're in a busy period at the moment, aren't we? So the games are flying by.
Just rolls on, mate, yeah. But it's good. It's a good rolling on at the minute.
It's a home rolling on as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
Back at Carrow Road tomorrow. We've got to speak to Daniel Farke as always and Josh Murphy this afternoon. So let's start with the team news, shall we? We'll do it like the press conference. We'll start with the team news.
Go for it.
And basically it's kind of as was, isn't it? Which means in a way the people who have been missing are going to still be missing, and otherwise Daniel Farke is still going to have big decisions to make in terms of who he does actually select to play.
Yeah, I mean, if you from Brentford, obviously Hanley comes back in because he was only cup tied, and Maddison trained today for the first time, but that in itself would lead you to think that it's going to be a stretch for the 11, but certainly he'll be in contention for the squad. I think basically he's had a few issues with a few tight calves since Sheffield United, really nothing to do with the foot that initially saw him taken off at Bramall Lane. So I don't think a guy who's only trained on Friday morning is really going to be in your plans for the 11, but good option to have from the bench maybe. And then no Martin, no Naismith as per, no Oliveira. Still sounds like Reading's going to be the one they try and target with him next week. I think Middlesbrough come too soon, and then other than that, no fresh concerns coming out of Griffin Park.
And I guess the thing that's bubbling around in the back of my mind is Alex Tettey, because he played a lot of games last week, got the break in midweek. We spoke a lot about his fitness. Does Middlesbrough come into thinking, do you think, in terms of whether he'd play on Tuesday and not on Saturday? Or because, let's be honest, Harrison Reed and Tom Tribal, regardless of how good or not Brentford were, they look pretty secure on Tuesday.
I mean, you've made that point on the drive back from Colney. I think it's a fair one, really. Of the two games coming up, you would think his unique brand of combat might be better suited at Middlesbrough rather than tomorrow, because Farke himself said he thinks Bristol City aren't one of those teams who will play rope a dope and sit deep and try and counter. They will come to play football and be on the front foot, and you look at their results, beat Premier League team in Stoke midweek, one defeat in total in 11 league and cup games, so that's a very confident side who score plenty of goals. So I don't think they're going to be coming here and it'll be a case of but then again, as I'm talking, I'm thinking, well, if they are going to be on the front foot, do you need to be a bit better without the ball and have somebody who can recycle it and win it back? So me personally, I think Tettey will come back in. And probably, well, you'd be surprised if Tribal drops out, given he's the man at the moment. So I think it might be Harrison Reed's the unfortunate one again. And that's good management again in terms of, Tettey had quite an intense period, albeit he doesn't have the international commitments now. But having not played Tuesday, he's had a full week to prepare. So you would think that all leads to him and Tribal reunited in the centre of the park.
It's interesting that we're talking about how the game will line up, and we're thinking, we're almost changing our minds as we go through it. And Daniel Farke kind of mentioned himself about the complexity of this game.
He did
mention that 2 or 3 times. I guess that comes from the way Bristol City are playing, maybe the fact that he's not sure if they are going to be completely open, because as you said, they've scored and conceded a lot of goals this year, and the different levels of that challenge. Yeah,
it's obviously, as you said, you can never know for definite how a game's going to pan out, but he feels that because of reasons already stated, they've scored a lot of goals, they've had some excellent results on the road. They won at Reading, they drew with Wolves, and why would you go too far away from methods that have served you so well? So I don't think there's going to be a radical change in how Bristol go about it. Of course, they're going to have to respect Norwich. A, the fact that it's at Carrow Road, where Norwich are very, very strong more often than not, and B, the fact that they've picked up as well away from home in terms of defensively. So yeah, if you were Lee Johnson, you would maybe be a little bit wary about going toe to toe, but I don't think that necessarily means they're going to abandon what served them so well. So yeah, I think it could be a very entertaining open game tomorrow, and you would think Norwich, with the attacking creativity they've got in the side, really, if they're strong at the back again, as they have been the last 4 games, and I would fancy Norwich just to edge it, but it's going to be a very, very difficult assignment, I think.
Absolutely. Let us know where you're watching from, and post your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. In terms of Norwich playing at home and at Carrow Road, you asked Daniel Farke about the atmosphere, and it's kind of an interesting parallel with, clearly we saw a lot of things we don't want to see ever again at a full match at Sheffield United, but the intimidation of the atmosphere and the noise and that support, and comparing that to Carrow Road, which has been pretty good this year. It's not a slight on what's happening at Carrow Road, but I guess stoking the fires to see if that unity can deliver an atmosphere at maybe a different level to what's been around.
Yeah, well, ultimately you use every advantage going, and don't, as happened unfortunately with one or two some unsavoury incidents at Bramall Lane, slips the wrong side of the line. But in terms of a passionate home support driving on their players, don't want to hark back to a certain era with a Scottish manager, but Paul Lambert's success was in a large part based on that unity and that togetherness between the players and the fan base. And Carrow Road, Russell Martins routinely said it was an uncomfortable place for opposition teams and players to come to. Why wouldn't you want to try and harness that again? Use every advantage going, in my book, as long as it stays the right line of what is acceptable behaviour. But yeah, if it is noisy, if it is passionate, if it is partisan, make no apologies for it, then that to me is what a home stadium should be all about. And there's certainly enough bodies in the stadium, so why can't they replicate what we saw at Bramall Lane in terms of the positive element of that support, which was passionate and was vocal and was partisan, and it was a very difficult, intimidating assignment, which credit to Farke and his boys, they came through with flying colours. But yeah, I think he would like to see a little bit of that in favour of him and his players tomorrow rather than against him.
Over to you, Carrow Road, as I think you directly tweeted, in fact.
Did indeed.
Let's have a look at some of these questions, shall we? Adam Wren is in Cornwall. He's enjoying the updates. Hello there, Adam. Hope Cornwall's as lovely as it is here today. Beautiful day in Norwich. Barry Back asks, where's to start? Wes, of course, played the full 90 minutes, didn't he, at Brentford? He certainly started it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
No.
The reverse of Tete. I don't see a guy who's 35 who needs to have his workload managed, playing 2 games in 3 days. Just don't see it.
The reverse of Tete, that's probably quite a good definition of Wes Houlihan, really, isn't it? It works quite well. John Messy Guest says, good morning from Upper Left United States. I don't know if that's the official county name. Let's have a look. Adam Harvey, Watkins or Jerome to start up top on Saturday? For me, it has to be Watkins based on Tuesday. And actually, I think we picked up on it on the night, didn't we? That the way Marley Watkins played that role as a lone striker, it was so much improved to how he'd done it in a cup game earlier in the season. Yeah. That said, it does seem to suit them away from home maybe more than at Carrow Road. Yeah,
that's an interesting one, actually. Now I think about it. Because he did look lively, and he was heavily involved in the penalty, and he was a good link. But then you would say Jerome's a decent link player. I guess it's what's most important, and if you're a striker, then of those two, there's not much in it for me. There's not much in it. But again, it's less what we think. It's more the evidence we've seen in the last few days. You didn't get Jerome involved midweek. You would think again in the efforts to, and again we're just about, this is the start for me of another very intense 7-day period with Middlesbrough away and then Reading away prior to the international break. There's clearly an element where he's trying to marshal his troops and manage the workload. But you would say Marley Watkins probably did enough to be certainly considered. He's certainly in the debate, I think, whether him or Jerome get the nod. But you have to think the way Farke's looked at it this week, Jerome will be back in. And to be fair to him, I thought he did a very good job at Sheffield United outside the box, which they were getting pinned progressively, but he was offering a bit of an outlet and a bit of a hold-up play as well. So, but they probably won't need that type of template tomorrow. If it's going to be toe to toe, then maybe a little bit of pace down the flanks in terms of Marley Watkins is not a bad chat. It's a very good question. Yeah, I honestly, at this stage, I'm not quite sure how Farke would go with that. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I imagine it will be Jerome. I said based on the fact that Marley, can come on and change the game perhaps better at the moment than Cam can, and the fact that Marley did start on Tuesday and Jerome didn't feature at all. The interesting for me that I saw some correspondents from the Sheffield end going on about how good Cam's performance was at Bramall Lane.
Okay.
And I don't know, that sometimes maybe gets taken for granted a little bit here. I'm probably myself included in that. But I'm assuming it'll be Cam to start. Worth reiterating that Nelson Oliveira, of course, is still out, and it was sort of probably not Middlesbrough, but not completely ruling it out. Hopefully Reading.
I mean, ultimately, he was in with the Portuguese squad in the last international window. For me, he needs to be available for one of these next 2 games if he's going to go away with Portugal. So I think Reading's more likely, yeah.
What else have we got here? Good question, Adam, clearly. Ollie Baines went to see us play Brentford, and we looked very, very convincing. Reckon we will see many changes against a Bristol City side who are on a decent run of results. So, I mean, that Bristol City, the side against Brentford was a strong side generally, wasn't it?
It was.
And I guess he's reaping the rewards from having that rhythm, and Norwich can benefit from that. And that, I guess, seeing a spine of the side, aren't we now? Yeah. Angus through Christoph and Tim.
Yeah.
Tom Tribal as it is tending to be now. Obviously, up top's maybe a little bit different, but there's a lot to work with there.
Well, he ultimately made one change to that defensive unit from Sheffield to Brentford, and that was Husband for Stiepermann. And Husband, I thought, had his best game in a Norwich shirt midweek. So, yeah, but it clearly does feel, and you can't disagree. You know, why would you want to tinker too much with a back line who have, you know, bar a minute or two, were very close to a fourth consecutive clean sheet? You know, it's almost, that's your solid base, that's your foundation, which was sadly lacking pre the last international break. So if those lads are fit and available, then I think they play at the minute in defensive positions. Absolutely,
I completely agree. Lorne Haggis Smybert, who is off to Middlesbrough on the 26th? Well, me and you are, and Dave will be with us too. Apparently Lorne is on the stretcher party just behind the dugout.
What that Middlesbrough
entirely means on the stretcher party.
No idea.
Let us know, John. Ben Woodward says hello from Long Stratton. Yeah, it's a lovely part of the world, Long Stratton. Stuart Warburton, what has happened to Naismith? So it seems like he was not featuring because he was away on international duty rather than being at Carrow Road, so he missed out on that work with Daniel Farke.
Yeah.
And now he's got a groin injury that they're going to have a scan on.
Abductor problem.
Abductor problem.
Yeah. Which obviously is only something he can have done in training, because, as you say, he hasn't really been anywhere near it since prior to the international break. And ultimately, you know, maybe that's saving all concerned a bit of an issue at the minute, because if he was fit and available, would he get in? I don't think we'd seen enough from him in those previous games prior to the international break to justify him ousting for instance, Maddison or a Tribal. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds.
Filters into this next question actually from from Ben, who says, do you think we'll ever see Naismith starting or playing as a striker? Which I guess is a number 9 has come up in the past, hasn't it? But not anytime soon. I'd probably be my.
Well, you never say never, do you? But it would have to be a considerable amount of injuries, I think, at the top end of the pitch before he got his chance there.
A man who knows his football, Paul Chesterton. Hello there, Paul. PC. Afternoon, lads. Marley should start, in my humble opinion. Played a good lone striker role at Brentford.
He's just got an anti-Jerome bias, as we well know.
Dear, no comment. See you tomorrow, Paul. Martin Power. Now things have settled down, do you think our season starts now? I mean, that's a lovely line. We love that line. The season starts now.
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, if
playoffs on, by the way, is the last he adds in. Well, playoffs on ?
Ultimately, you've got a team there tomorrow coming to Carrow Road, full of confidence, as Norwich are. Farke more or less said they were the 2 informed teams in the division. If Norwich at 4:45, 10:05 tomorrow have beaten Bristol City and inflicted only their second defeat in 12 games, as it would be there, then that optimism is going to be rife. And let's hope that is the case, because you can see signs of a momentum building, but it's these type of games against teams who are in equally a good flow. If you can get the better of these type of sides, then they've already shown. You know, we've seen ample evidence in the last 2 away games that they can go away and they can grind it out and they can eventually prevail. If you can marry that with being very good at Carrow Road, then it's the age-old cliche, isn't it? You win your home games, you're hard to beat on the road. You're not going to be too far away.
No, exactly. Big 3 games coming up, I think. Ben again asked, any mention of Closer and his allergic reaction to something after Brentford?
I'll leave that with you, mate.
Yes, I don't know if people saw on Instagram, I think it was primarily Tim Closer posting pictures of his hugely inflamed face, which was an allergic reaction, possibly down to some sort of pain relieving cream, like Deep Heat was what I said. So basically we imagine Tim Closer has stuck Deep Heat on his face, which would be painful, as well as an allergic reaction. There was much tomfoolery and joking at Colney today, and also during the week, by the sounds of it. And they sent him a Will. Did you get to the bottom of which Will Smith film it was?
No.
Some DVD of a Will Smith film, apparently, due to his oversized face. But as it happens now, his face is fine, and he is good to continue playing. Thank goodness. Indeed. I mean, his non-conceding of goals record was maintained from Brentford, even if Norwich's wasn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's delivering on, the interview he gave, I'm trying to think now, what was his first game back?
It was Birmingham, was it?
Okay.
Post-match Birmingham.
Yeah, post-match Birmingham, where he basically very brutally, honestly said he wasn't good enough last season. He'd been caught out by the physicality of the Championship, and that wouldn't happen this time around, and that he knew he had a leadership role. Was seeing all that. He's backing up the words with actions, and long may that continue. Yeah.
Lorne Haggis Smybert has been back in touch. He says he's the ambulance, I assume it's a he, the ambulance driver to take any players to hospital if they need to. So doing a grand job there, sir. Good luck, and hopefully, let's hope you're not involved and you just get to sit there and watch the match. I guess you have to be on best behaviour if you're a Norwich fan as well at the Riverside Stadium. We also got to talk to Josh Murphy, which I think we should talk about now. We've got a few more minutes. Articulate young man, isn't he, Josh?
Yeah. And
I think fully aware of the defensive improvements that he has and needs to make, his own form as well, and I think he's spoken before about the change of dynamic now that Jacob's gone as well. What did you make of him speaking, Pat?
Yeah, I thought he was sort of encapsulated the mood perfectly. I thought he openly admitted there's areas of his game he needs to work on. Again, he was quite honest that he probably wasn't at the races at Sheffield United, and that was fair comment, I thought. But it's good in such a young player to have that kind of self-awareness, to know that he needs to perform game to game. It's not enough just to do, particularly as the type of player he is, a very off-the-cuff, instinctive, attacking player. It's not enough just to turn up and turn it on one game in three or whatever. And he's acknowledged that the competition is so intense in this squad of players now that you really need to be on it every game. And the interesting part of that conversation, I thought, was his reaction, his goal celebration after he'd scored the third at Brentford, and that it was almost kind of a bit of a pent-up frustration he'd had maybe from the Sheffield United game, maybe one or two other games where he hasn't quite been on it of late. And I like to see that, because there's a young man, as much as we don't really want to talk about his brother too much, but his brother last season, breakthrough, laid down a market, and by the end of the season, well, we all know what happened. He got his move, and he basically accelerated his career forward and left his brother a little bit in his slipstream. But there's no doubt, pound for pound, he's as good as his brother. So we just need to see that consistency now. And if the penny is dropped and he realises this is his time now, this is his breakthrough season, then I think we can have a very good. Some good assists and goals from Josh Murphy this season, but he needs to maintain this level. It's not enough now to slip away and kind of get a bit frustrated with himself and the supporters with him to a degree as well, because there is no doubt, pure ability, that lad can shine at this level.
There's been moments in games where he's been superb, and then other games where he's struggled, and you just feel if he just can, makes it's much more consistent over the rest of the season, he could be such an important player to Norwich. What they're planning to do. Kellen, I hope that's right, might be Keelan Noble. Good morning from San Diego, California.
Nice.
Whoosh. Canary fan. Mark this. What are we on? September the 22nd. As of now, any positions we should reinforce in the January transfer window?
Wow. I don't know.
Striker.
People keep
talking
about
striker.
Unawares with that question. Yeah,
Everything's
January.
fine.
We've only literally just finished the summer window.
No. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you, Killam. And then finally, should we round this off with Adam Harvey? How many points would be a good return this week over the 3 games? He would take 6. Now, I was thinking if they beat Bristol City on Saturday, and lose narrowly at Middlesbrough and draw at Reading, that wouldn't be too bad. But that's only 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're being greedy, you'd think 6 is doable. It's certainly doable. But then again, I mean, 4 would indicate you're unbeaten 2 from 3. And just to go back to what we said, if you're winning at home games and you're picking up points away over the piece, you wouldn't be too far away. I certainly think of the 2 away games, Borough probably stands to reason is going to be the tougher assignment. But it's not beyond Norwich; they could get something there. But I think a lot of what happens next week hinges on tomorrow. If they win again and they play well again, then you're bouncing into Borough with 5 unbeaten. I really would fancy them to get something in those 2 away games, but if they come up short tomorrow at Carrow Road, then it's a difficult one. So I suppose sitting here at the minute, Friday afternoon, I would take 4, but I think they're capable of 6. Anything more than that, I think it's a bit too much to hope for, really.
Jeez, can you imagine it?
Anything more than that, and then it will be hard to hold on to the rampant optimism, keep it in check.
Optimism. Well, it's nice to talk about rampant
certainly is.
Optimism. So it is Kellen. Thanks, Kellen, for your post, and I hope it's a gorgeous day like it is here in Norwich, back in San Diego. We're done. We will, of course, be at Carrow Road tomorrow with all the build-up, live match coverage, and then analysis and fallout afterwards. PinkUn.com is your one-stop shop, so make sure you come and see us there. And if you're at the ground, come and say hello. If you see any of us wandering around with a camera pointed at our own faces. Paddy, thanks for joining us.
That's fine.
I'll see you very soon, and a very goodbye to you all.